Well, here we are for session 7, so we're almost at the end of this series of 8 lessons, but also this series of 8 video resources to help younger members of our faith community prepare for admission to Holy Communion. And this week we're focusing especially on the idea of communion, of sharing. So communion is the fancier word, but perhaps the more regular, everyday sense of the word is sharing. What I want us to do, we're using the chapel of the Epiphany, the chapel which celebrates God who is known amongst us and comes amongst us. And this is a quieter, more personal space up the front end of the cathedral. So I thought this would be a good place for us to be talking about communion, sharing, that intimate time we spend with God, with Jesus, in the company of each other as we come to communion, as we come to be fed and sustained at the table of Jesus. As we think about the significance of Eucharist, I invite you to particularly notice this lovely Holy Communion set which I brought back from Israel. You'll notice that the beautiful plate is celebrating the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. And those symbols are represented in the plate, the pattern, but they're also represented on the front of the chalice or the cup. This is a mosaic design which comes from a particular local church on the Sea of Galilee at a place called Taberah, which is the traditional site for the feeding of the 5,000 miracle. What I'm inviting us to do at this point is to think about the significance of the time when we've finished our Thanksgiving prayer and we're actually coming to the altar, coming to the table of Jesus, coming to put out our hand to receive the bread, to reach out our hand to take hold of the cup. At the heart of this special time and at the heart of our Eucharist is of course the idea that we are having a meal with Jesus. 2,000 years ago, around the Sea of Galilee, that's exactly what the disciples did. They had lunch, they had meals with Jesus every day of the week. They'd stop by the side of the road, they'd break out the bread, they'd open a container of wine, and they'd share a meal together. After Easter, of course, Christians kept doing that. They continued to have the meal, they continued to take the bread and to take the wine, and they discovered that when they did that, Jesus was with them. They couldn't see him, he wasn't visible, but they sensed that he was with them. And so the Eucharist, and particularly this ritualized meal with the bread and the wine, is the distinctive and unique Christian way of worshipping. So when we come to the altar, when we come to the table of Jesus to make our communion, we come with a purpose. We might have somebody in particular that we want to remember and hold that person in our heart, in our prayers, as we make our communion. We may be praying for ourselves. There may be something in our life where we're seeking God's blessing. This is a reflective and a gentle moment as we wait in turn to approach the place where the communion is being served, sometimes at the altar rail, sometimes in what we call pilgrim position, as we line up to receive communion and move on more quickly. We're coming to a very quiet, special, private and intimate moment. It's a holy time, it's an intimate time, and the best thing we can do as we prepare for that is to come with a plan. Come with some idea of how we want to use this quiet moment. There might be gentle music playing in the background, the choir might be singing a communion anthem, or it may just be quiet, it may just be silence. But we're coming to have a special moment of communion, encounter, and sharing with Jesus. We're putting out our hands to take the bread and the wine. we're asking Jesus to pour his life, to pour his energy, to pour his love into our lives. And we're saying, yes, Jesus, I can drink the cup that you drank. I can follow you. I can do this because I have your strength, your love, and your life inside me.